Happy belated Easter, everyone! You know, let me know down in the comments if you actually celebrate Easter in like an official, proper capacity, because I feel like no one really gives Easter that much attention anymore, except for like Walmart. I mean, hell, all I did for Easter this year was get my grandmother an Easter plant and then just go over there for lunch for a couple hours. But here we are once again to talk about Rick and Morty Season 8, and yes, you guessed it. This is the Easter episode featuring the Space Christians. Quite frankly, this episode was nothing short of bizarre, and when the end credits finally rolled, I was left utterly appalled and perplexed. If I were to like make a comparison of the like vibes of this episode to another Rick and Morty episode, I'd say the vibes of this episode kind of remind me of, I think it was in season 6, that episode, Bethic Twin Stink, where Beth fell in love with the clone of herself. So let us prepare our sanity braces, because we'll be lucky to even have a sanity bone after this episode's over. The episode opens with Jerry decorating the house with some Easter decor and singing a botched Easter version of Deck the Halls. You'll notice a recurring theme of no one knowing anything about Easter in this episode, or knowing anything about anything for that matter. But unfortunately for Jerry, Morty is too busy streaming Fortnite because the long-awaited JFK update has finally come out. Summer's getting ready for spring break like you do as a teenager. Beth gives an actual valid reason for not wanting to hide eggs all over the house.
I don't need the house smelling like egg farts, Jerry.
At the dinner table, everyone, and I mean everyone, points out how Jerry knows jack about Easter, but he knows everything about Christmas. Rick even hits him with the,
Jerry, if it wasn't for the aisle at Costco, you wouldn't even know it was happening.
Jerry wants to be a good dad, you know? He doesn't want this holiday to disappear from his family, and he tries to rally up his family with excitement, but it doesn't work, to absolutely no one's surprise. On his way back from Costco, I assume, Jerry runs over the Easter bunny and, pukes in its mangled mouth because of how scared and terrified he is. And, yeah, he drowns in vomit. Editor, definitely don't do a close-up zoom of the Easter Bunny's mangled face with all the vomit in it, and if you're gonna do a close-up, please blur it. Credits, please! Jerry, of course, takes the Easter Bunny, or at least the Easter Bunny's corpse, back to Rick, where Rick analyzes it and finds a 13th century German necklace exhibiting some permafrost damage that was hung around the Easter Bunny's neck. Summer makes a remark about how Jerry has killed the hopes and dreams of all the children around the world, and of course, Jerry starts to panic. Beth tells Jerry to calm down, take a chill pill. If you don't have one of those chill pills, take one of those chill strips. You put it on your tongue, it dissolves, chill. And tells Jerry to go get a drink of water and just relax. But instead of getting water, Jerry starts mowing through cabbage and lettuce like a bunny. He even jerry-rigs the water pitcher to be like those ones you'd see in the hamster cages. You know, the ones where they go like, and drink the water from like that. Huh, see what I did there? See what I said there? Jerry-rigged? Get it? Rick discovers that Jerry's DNA is rapidly changing and that the total transformation will complete on Easter Day. And so, with the crisis in hand, Rick sets us up with the A, B, and C plots of this episode. The A plot is, of course, going to be Rick and Morty investigating this whole bunny-rabbit curse thing Indiana Jones style. Our B plot is going to be Jerry put into a giant crystal that should slow the transformation while Beth watches over him. And our C plot is Summer being given a fake ID and a second stomach purely for alcohol so she can go on spring break and party like there's no tomorrow. Seems pretty cut and dry to me. And like I said, Rick declares that he and Morty, they're gonna Indiana Jones this shit. They even get one of those montages of like the map showing like their travel route and stuff. You know, the travel route of taking 2 steps through a portal and ending up at their exact destination without any troubles at all. Rick and Morty find where the bunny thought out from, and Rick brings up the movie Iceman back from the 80s. Morty's quick to retort that the 80s were forever ago and that Rick is an old man, and I'll just let the rest of this argument play out.
You're old. You're old. Fuck you, Morty.
Fuck you, Rick.
Yeah, fuck you. You're old and gay.
You can't say that anymore.
Let's see if the locals know anything.
I love how quickly they drop that argument. It's just like, yeah, argument over, let's get back to the plot. The local Eskimo village is full of like bunny cult worshiper people, and Morty observes how their version of Easter is a lot less chocolate central. And Rick says a remark that I myself have been tossing around a bit. Say whatever you want about America, say whatever you want about capitalism and the current state of them. But we do get a couple things right, like Buc-ee's, for example. Never been to a Buc-ee's, but I really want to go to one. There's this big mural that Rick reconstructs like half a broken egg from that was like embedded in the mural, and when the Space Christians show up, right on cue, Rick points out that...
Space Christians? Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Yes, it is, Rick. It is a major conflict of interests. Also, it turns out the half-broken egg was from the Andromeda Galaxy. Rick and one of the space Christians, I'm just gonna call them Christians, Rick and one of the Christians get into a scanning contest, and Rick, of course, uses it as an opportunity to insult the guy. Then we get this fun little action scene with this song playing over it, or music, or instrumental. I cannot think of the name of it for the life of me, but I've heard it so many times. Editor, play 4 seconds of the clip of the song so people know what I'm talking about, and then put the name of the song up on screen if you can figure it out. Yeah, that song. Whatever that one's called. Whatever it's called, that one up there. Also, goddamn, that spaceship design kind of goes hard as fuck. One of the Christians nabs the egg as Rick is expressing his confusion as to why Christians are fighting against Easter. That's a very valid question, Rick. But one of the Christians blasts off to the Andromeda Galaxy, and Morty fails to pronounce Andromeda correctly, leading to Rick questioning if he's messing with him. Genuinely, Rick, I don't think he is. I think he's just dumb. Now over to the B plot, Jerry's transformation is accelerating. He gets all muscular, you know, his muscles like tear through the shirt, like, and he breaks out of the crystal, and Beth realizes how shallow and easy she is with how turned on she's getting. Look, sooner or later, we all realize things like this, and hey, there's no shame in it. Just own it and people will respect you. That's my life advice for the day. But as Beth and Jerry get set to go one more time, Jerry's transformation progresses again and he turns into, whatever the hell that is. I never knew turning into a rabbit humanoid Easter Bunny knockoff thing would genuinely look so freaky. The body horror elements in this episode are like extremely grotesque, but they're very effective. Back to the A plot, thank the Lord, and Rick and Morty have portals to the Andromeda Galaxy with another Indiana Jones map gag that lasts about 3 seconds. Rick is trying to work out the mythology of this whole thing, and Morty, you know, he tries to make a hypothesis, but Rick is just like, no, stop. He just shuts him down. Turns out the bunny curse energy essence is sent in an egg to a planet, and when someone kills it, they become it. And once the transformation is complete, the rabbit induces sexual pheromones into the whole planet's population, and the whole planet's population fucks itself to death via overpopulation.
Fuck-based terraforming!
And guess who's running this whole operation? It's the... Rick is very fascinated by these guys and their front butts, and he's also very curious as to if it's in the back. Wait, the space Christians are fighting the guys?
What is the lore? Who do we help?
My question exactly, Morty. The plot and lore of whatever is happening here is so convoluted and fucked and confusing. Even Rick is just like, you know, we're just gonna third party this bitch. We ain't siding with no one. Rick and Morty escape, but unfortunately Rick's portal gun got destroyed in the crossfire. So they catch a lift on one of these, ships. Yeah, we'll call them ships. Yeah, I guess Easter Island being connected to all of this suddenly is starting to make a lot of sense. Back on Earth, Jerry is looking even more grotesque, and he starts the process of making people, fuck the planet to death. I'm sorry, I cannot say those words and feel like a competent reviewer here. But the Christians show up and they actually manage to capture Jerry, and they even have mechanisms installed in their head that sort of protect them from the pheromones that Jerry expunges. The Christians then proceed to ambush Rick and Morty just as they arrive on Easter Island, and to absolutely no one's surprise, Rick has them all outgunned. Also, I know Rick is like clowning on these space Christians a lot, but I just gotta say this for the record, the actual design of like their weapons and their robes and ships and stuff, they're actually pretty damn cool. Like, I'm not a big religious man, but I love like Bible aesthetics in like fantasy. The general of the space Christians reveals that their species doesn't like sex, like, at all. And that's the reason they're hunting this Easter Bunny. And according to them, they sent their best soldier to hunt down this Easter Bunny 2,000 years ago, but the population of Earth crucified him before he could finish the job.
Whoa, that is not how we tell that story.
For some really stupid reason, they brought Jerry with them to this ambush, and of course he breaks right out and completes his transformation. He's on Easter Island on Easter Day. Of course he's gonna complete the transformation here. As Jerry tries to make Rick and Morty horny, Rick explains that, yes, of course, as soon as they figured out what was going on, the very first thing they did was inoculate themselves to the pheromones because, you know, they wouldn't want to, you know. But Bunny Jerry jumps away into the night and screams things like sex and time to make fuck at the top of his lungs. Sometimes, even the dumbest of dumb humor, sure, it can make us laugh sometimes, but other times, it's just bad humor. So make sure to appreciate the art of comedy, everybody, because, its deathbed is being prepared right next to creativities. Jerry then returns to his house and pulls a horror monster slowly creeping his way into Beth's bedroom. But for a brief moment, Jerry manages to regain control of himself, and Beth consoles him, saying like, it's okay, you were just trying to celebrate a holiday with your family. Just, never do that again. As Jerry starts losing control again, Beth gears up to restrain him in a non-kinky way, in a non-sex way, and we cut back to the A-plot just as Rick and Morty are finishing up their rant on the movie Alien Prometheus, a movie so great, so good, with a plot so memorable that I have absolutely zero reason to explain it to you. The last space Christian, who is ripped in half and is still alive somehow, uses his final breaths to say that the Earth is fucked. Literally. And then he dies. Oh wait, no, he's just taking a nap, never mind. Okay, seeing the ship just landing in the middle of everything that's happening and the shape of it, do I even need to say anything at this point? Like, do I even need to say anything anymore? But as the entire planet is getting down bad, Morty brings up this rat experiment that Rick told him about a while back. And Rick praises Morty for his observation because it is exactly like the experiment Rat Utopia. And thus Morty completes his miniature arc in this episode. Towards the start, he made a shitty hypothesis, and at the end, he made an accurate observation. Good job doing science, Morty. Beth tied down Jerry, and Rick starts zapping all of the bunny DNA out of him, just as a person shows up. And Rick finally had his dream fulfilled of seeing what was in the back. But there's no time for that. We got a plot to get to. Rick accidentally cracks the egg with all the cursed DNA in it, and it devolves into this whole cycle of everybody just killing each other and mutating and killing each other again until finally that last space Christian, the one that was ripped in half, he shows up, patches up the egg, and zaps all the DNA into the egg. Wait, how the fuck is he even here? He doesn't have legs. But the Christian takes the egg with him after everyone tells him to fuck off, and then everyone collectively decides no more holidays. Ever. So we get a nice montage of the remainder of the calendar year, and we see the Smith family happily destroying and torching every single holiday. Morty even gets to bully a kid on Halloween. Oh man, have I been there. Being bullied on Halloween, not bullying kids on Halloween. I did secondhand bullying by taking more candy out of the bowls when it says take one. That's the kind of bully I was. Feel free to scorn me in the comments, but I'm the one who had 2 sacks of candy. But when they're all done torching and destroying every single holiday on the calendar, Beth observes that...
Wait, did we just live through a whole calendar year?
Another continuity joke. Wait, what was Summer doing this whole time? Turns out she was at spring break all fucking year. And damn girl, you look exhausted. The episode ends with the C plot being concluded, with Summer just wanting to go home because, yeah, she's exhausted. Spring break can actually be pretty exhausting if you party a fraction as hard as Summer was in this episode. And I speak from experience. I've had some wild spring breaks in the past. Okay, just one wild spring break. End credits, please? The past 3 episodes have had some kind of meaningful development in terms of Rick and Morty's character arcs this season, or some lesson about this place we call the Central Finite Curve. But this episode, yeah, it's got none of that. Sure, Morty had his little science arc where he did a bad science, then did a good science, but beyond that, this episode was pretty much purely for entertainment purposes. But I guess one way you could look at it is this. This episode served the purpose of showing us how Rick and Morty are acting in their usual misadventures. It shows us how they're now acting and treating each other, and how they're sort of handling crises together, and how their dynamic is after everything that's happened in the past. No big plot developments, no Citadel, no evil Morty, no Rick Prime, none of that, no big overarching developments or arc developments, just a nice view of how our boys are handling things in their every day-to-day misadventures. Sure, they still fight and argue with each other, but instead of these arguments and fights turning into some big conflict over the course of the episode, it's quickly dropped and quickly resolved. And I'd say that's a major improvement in their dynamic compared to how it was before. Other than that though, this episode was fucking weird. Let us all collectively agree to not mull it over any more than we have to. Out of all the episodes to come out so far in season 8, this episode was definitely my least favorite. Now don't get me wrong, it wasn't by any means a bad episode. There were a number of solid zingers one-liners, continuity jokes, some nods to the viewers that I really appreciate. Even Morty got in on some of the nods to the viewers. You don't see that happening too often. And I really appreciated all of that kind of humor. It was pretty damn well implemented. Also, I just loved like the confusion as to like what the fuck is even going on. Like literally the characters themselves, like Rick and Morty primarily, are like, what the fuck is even happening anymore? Like I liked that element a lot too. But overall, this episode was ultimately just high levels of entertainment with high levels of shock value. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a great episode to just turn your brain off to and just have some fun. I imagine it would pair well with one of those second alcohol stomachs. I need to get me one of those. But what did you think? Do you think this episode actually had some major lore implications that I missed? Or do you agree that this episode is purely just for entertainment and is, you know, fucking weird? I don't know, but please leave all your thoughts and opinions on both the episode and this video down in the comments. I'd also appreciate it if you'd leave a like and sub while you're down there, especially if you've been enjoying my coverage of Rick and Morty Season 8 thus far. It's been a lot of fun talking about this show. And you know, if you want to hear the rest of my thoughts on the rest of the season, definitely hit the like and sub button to stick around. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you really like the way I do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support to help keep this channel running, then definitely consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process. Oh yeah, you might have noticed the portal's different ever since the portal network broke in the last episode, so don't worry, we'll have it fixed by next episode. Anyways, I'm out of this bitch.